Hello and welcome to another episode of The Couch Talk.
Check it out.
So, on today's episode, we will be doing a weekend roundup of the Premier League results. Potter getting sacked, Rodgers getting sacked. I feel like every time I do an episode, there's someone getting sacked. We've now had 12 managers sacked this season in the Premier League, which is a record high for one season. So yeah, if that doesn't tell you how the season has been going, I don't know what will. Another episode and another bucket hat for me. I don't know, I've just been like, I've just loved wearing bucket hats lately. It just kind of like grew on me. I wasn't such a fan at the beginning, but yeah, I definitely think it's now grown on me. So yeah, I think I'm gonna do a lot or most of the episodes with bucket hats. Tell me what you think, if it's a good like look or not. Yeah, anyway, let's get into the action for the weekend. This past weekend we had Premier League back. It was the end of the international break. We had the Premier League back in action, and it kicked off with what we normally classify as one of the best games in the world in the last like 6 years, I would say. Liverpool versus Manchester City. Now we know Liverpool goes into lunchtime kickoffs on Saturdays with a very poor record. We haven't won any of them. So, yeah, was this any different? No, because Liverpool lost 4-1 again. What has gone wrong at Liverpool? So many things. I feel like it's not just, like obviously if you're watching it and you followed the season, it's not just been one thing. But I feel like it's so many little things, and it's just now become this massive thing that needs like urgent surgery kind of thing. And it just showed on Saturday because like I think not even the senior players are putting in a shift anymore. I saw Henderson, I saw Fabinho, I saw Van Dijk. I put Trent in that category as well as one of the senior guys in the team because he has been there since he was like 17. And I just feel like none of them are putting in an effort to show, okay, we want top 4, we want Champions League for next season, so that we can also attract the players that we want. They probably will attract them even without Champions League, but we know with Liverpool, we know with FSG that they need the Champions League for financial reasons. We know FSG said, that they're gonna back Klopp in the summer, but we also saw reports that if they don't make Champions League, there's going to be a huge dent in what can be given for the summer rebuild. So I just feel like for Liverpool as a whole to get back to where they were in the past 5-6 seasons, they need the summer. It needs to be the most important summer in the club's history, because we need to get the right targets. We need to build a squad like we did in 2016, 2017, and I think 2018, 2017, 2018 as well. We need to build a squad again to challenge for the league, because I think we can all agree that this squad is not good enough at all to win the league. Or to even challenge for it. So I just think after Saturday's game, I think Klopp can see it. I think certain players can see it. And it's important that the summer is actually goes according to plan. So yeah, that was the game at the Etihad. And then continuing Saturday's results, we had Bournemouth beating Fulham. That is a massive win for Bournemouth in terms of the relegation battle. Bournemouth are now out of the relegation battle. Fulham are still sitting pretty in the table. I think if if you told Fulham at the beginning of the season you're going to be in the top half of the table come April, they would have snapped your hand off at that opportunity. So yeah, not all doom and gloom for Bournemouth, because that was a massive win. And then Nottingham Forest and Wolves drew 1-1. I feel like Nottingham Forest and Wolves are in the same kind of boat in terms of they're looking to get to a certain level, and they still trying to figure out like how they can get there. Nottingham Forest went the route of buying so many players. I know they came up into the Premier League with loan players, and Wolves, on the other hand, they are trying to find a style of play or a way of going forward so that the club can be sustainable, basically. So yeah, that was it could be an important point for Wolves and Forest as well. Then at Selhurst Park, Roy Hodgson got Palace's first win for 2023. We are in April, and they beat Leicester 2-1. Leicester have sacked Rodgers. I think we can all say that we all saw that coming. First of all, there wasn't any investment in the in Leicester's squad. The transfer windows, it was more just like a silent affair at Leicester. I know they brought in Faiz, the defender, but that was about it. That was because Fofana left for Chelsea. But they haven't added any quality to the team, and I don't think in the Premier League you can get away with that. And Leicester, Brendan Rodgers at Leicester, he's done an okay job. And I do think that the owners have some sort of responsibility where Leicester is concerned and where they find themselves at the moment. I know the pandemic hit Leicester hard, but I still feel like you still need to show some ambition. And I know you want to be like sustainable, you want to run the club in a way that you don't run into any trouble, especially if you get relegated or anything like that. But yeah, no investment, and Leicester find themselves in the bottom half. Not just in the bottom half, but in the bottom three now. Then we go over to the Emirates. Arsenal continue their run to the title. A 4-1 win at Leeds. That's a massive win, especially because City beat Liverpool. So now, Arsenal's two games for me personally, the two games that's going to decide the title is the game on Sunday against Liverpool at Anfield. Arsenal don't have a great record at Anfield, but Liverpool aren't playing well either. So that game is a massive one. It's a very important one for Arsenal. They have to get something out of that. And then the one at the Etihad as well. I can't really remember when last Arsenal beat City at the Etihad, but I also don't think they need to beat City. I think a draw will be perfectly fine. The only thing is, if they do lose both games and City win their games, then I, I just feel like Arsenal find themselves in a little bit of trouble. I do think it's a very young squad, and just the fact that they would have to then cope with that pressure, going in a title run in, it's the first time they're doing this. But I also think that what will play in their favor is the fact that City has to play midweek games because they have a quarterfinal against Bayern Munich. Arsenal don't have any European games. They don't have any FA Cup games. So I do think that will play in their favor. But yeah, I just think it's going to be an interesting end to the season. I still think Arsenal will win the league. I'm still hoping that they win the league. So yeah, I'm definitely keeping a close eye on that. Then we had Brighton and Brentford, two teams who have been overachieving this season, in my opinion. I do think they play really good football, especially Brighton. But I also do think that they, at the beginning of the season, they wouldn't expect like themselves to be top 8, or even top 7. And Brighton find themselves, I think, at 6 at the moment. Brentford in 7th. So yeah, and Brighton have games in hand. So I do think that the two of them will be very happy with where they're at. De Zerbi has done an incredible job, especially because Potter left and the coaching staff were left as well. A lot of outgoings at Brighton happen. And to bring De Zerbi in and for him to sell Trossard and still continue playing the attacking brand of football that they are playing, I think like hats off to him. He's done an incredible job. And he's still a young manager. Like, we have to remember that he's a new manager in the league. He hasn't been like managing in the Premier League before. So for him to adapt so quickly is really, really like smart business from Brighton to get him in, and for him to adapt is really, it really shows like what type of manager he is. So yeah, like big ups to him. Same with Brentford as well. I think Thomas Frank wouldn't have thought that he would be in this position come April, especially in like European spots. I just hope that they don't go to like a phase where they get into Europe and then suddenly like they have that fall off. I think we saw it with Burnley, we saw it with Sheffield, we saw it with West Ham this season. Yes, they're doing well in Europe, but they're not doing well in the Premier League. So I just hope that they don't get into that where they enter Europe and then they're having to play Thursday, Sunday football or Thursday, Monday. So yeah, it'll be incredible for them to get into Europe. And then I'm hoping that they add to their squad. So, because you need squad depth in the Premier League, you need it. You're going to be playing week in, week out, midweek games, and when it comes to Christmas period, you need that squad depth. So yeah, I think that's going to be an interesting one to see. That's if they get into Europe. Then at the bridge, Chelsea and Aston Villa. Villa with a 2-0 win over Chelsea, which in the end was Potter's last game in charge. And we'll get to that like a little bit later. Yeah, I just don't think it worked out for Potter. But Unai Emery has done brilliantly with Aston Villa. I think I don't know, there's just something about him going to clubs and getting the most out of either the centre forward or the striker or like certain attacking players. And he's doing the same with Ollie Watkins. He's been scoring. He's on a scoring run at the moment. Like, I know because I have him in my fantasy team. So, um, yeah, he's been giving me points. And I just think like he's turned it around at Aston Villa, especially after Gerrard left and he came in. It could have been a tricky one because he was in the Premier League with Arsenal, and it obviously didn't work out there. But he's come back into the Premier League and he's shown like, this is me. This is what I can do. I've done it with Villarreal. I've done it with Sevilla. So yeah, Aston Villa are on the up, and it's good to see because they're a big club in England. I don't think we can deny that. West Ham beating Southampton. It's an important win for West Ham, especially for David Moyes. He's come under a lot of pressure of late, and Southampton languishing at the bottom of the table. And in my opinion, I can't see them getting out of that. I do think they're going to go down. I do think that over the years, the selling model has it worked until a certain period, but you can only do it for so long until it eventually it catches up to you. And I think this is the season where it has caught up to Southampton. And again, next season, whether they go down or whether they even stay in the Premier League, they are going to lose key players again. I've seen players like Lavia, I've seen players like Ward-Prowse mentioned, Bella Kotchap. So there are players in Southampton that are going to leave and they're going to have to then buy again. So the model that they're using at the moment it would only worked until a certain period. And that's where they find themselves now. Rock bottom, and possibly going down. Yeah, the last game on Sunday, Newcastle and Man United. Newcastle, they played really well. They played United off the park for large periods of that game. Ended up winning 2-0. I think the score could have been easily 3, 4, or 5s. And they didn't take their chances. But yeah, in the first half, especially, they had, I think it was 2 or 3 very good chances. And they didn't take them. But in the second half, they came out, played the same attacking style, and eventually got the win. They are now up to 3rd in the Premier League. Eddie Howe has done magnificently well at Newcastle, because from last season to this season, that's a massive jump. And I do think if Newcastle get into the Champions League, I think that will be a year ahead of schedule. I just think that they would have thought, okay, this season we're going to cement ourselves in the top 8 and then push on from there. But to find themselves in 3rd in April with, I think, I'm not sure, I think they have about 11 games to go. That's a massive achievement, and I don't think people realize how good it is at the moment. So yeah, United now find themselves outside the top 4 because the last game happened on Monday, and Everton and Spurs played out to a 1-1 draw at Goodison Park. Now that is an important point for Everton because that now takes them out of the drop zone, and Spurs threw away 2 points basically. With the late goal of Michael Keane, absolutely brilliant strike. So yeah, Spurs now having to cling on to 4th spot, but yeah, we'll see how that pans out because a lot of teams in and around the European spots have games in hand. Some of them have 2 games in hand. So in the upcoming weeks, we'll see a clear picture of who's top 4, and who's 5th, 6th, 7th. And then obviously it will be the run in until the end of the season, which I think is going to be exciting for the relegation battle, the top 4, and then also the title run in. I can't remember when last we had a season like this where all 3 sections are going down to the final game, because I do think it's going to go to the final game for relegation, top 4, and the title. The relegation, there's only 2 points in between 12th and 18th. So 2 points. If you slip up, you might find yourself in the relegation battle or in the relegation zone. But a win or 2 can literally propel you from 19th or 18th to like 12th. So it's very important for every single team to focus on getting wins from now until the end of the season. And that's what's going to make it so difficult, because Arsenal, City, the top 4, they all have to play those teams. And they want to pick up points. It's not about, oh, we're going to City, and we know we're probably not going to win, but let's just, try our best kind of thing. Now it's about, we have to go there. We have to find a game where we can get a draw, where we can get a win. So I just think it's going to be an important period now, especially the next 5 games, because that will shape up the entire Premier League. Okay, so let's get into Graham Potter's sacking. So I feel like I have quite a bit to say on this, just from what I feel. And I know you can let me know in the comments, like, if you agree with the sacking of Potter, if you don't agree, and what you think could have been done differently. But I just think, when you appointed Potter, surely you can't just give him 7 months and then you decide, no, this is not the fit anymore for Chelsea, we're going to let go of him. You bring him in, then you have a World Cup in the middle of the season. So players go off to the World Cup, and you obviously can't do like team training or anything like that. Then you have the January transfer window. Now you bring in 5, 6 players, different leagues, and you expect them all to gel immediately. Now I get that Chelsea fans are like, yeah, but we didn't really see the style of play, because I've seen it on like Twitter, and I've seen like other interviews of like fans in England saying they can't see a style of play, which I totally get. And maybe that's the reason also for the sacking. But I just feel like, if you are bringing in a manager, then at least give him for the entire season, like give him an opportunity to show, okay, this is what I can do, or this is what I'm trying to do. But now you bring in so many different players, and it's not easy to just be like, okay, I'm going to bring in these players and all of them are just going to fit immediately. So I do think that that wasn't the right choice. And I think it was like, I just think it was a very like hasty decision to let go of Tuchel and then bring in Potter. And also now Potter's gone. Yes, the assistant is there. Is he going to be changing tactics? Is he going to keep the same tactics? Like, what's going to happen now? And then I also just think of all these players that are on these huge contracts, like was it 7 years contracts? So what happened? You bring in a new manager, and the manager's like, well, I don't want that player or that player, like maybe let's say 4 or 5 of the players. What happens then? Because now they're on these huge contracts, and how do you get rid of them? So it's just, for me, it's just like a messy situation. And I don't know if it's Bowley trying to be like, you know what, I'm in charge here, and I'm gonna do things the way I want to do it, and I'm gonna show like the Premier League what I'm about. I just think that it was a very it's very, from a sporting perspective, I can't really understand it. It's just mind-boggling for me. I can understand certain like dynamics, maybe the fact that Potter didn't get along with maybe the squad, because I didn't feel like Potter had that connection with the fans, with the players or anything. And then obviously there was the style of play. But yeah, I just feel like it was, on a sporting front, it wasn't a great decision to let Tuchel go and then bring in Potter. So yeah, if Bowley wants to implement this, then cool, so be it. But he's gonna have to do things properly, because otherwise he's gonna run Chelsea into the ground. And then just like finally, can I just have my say on the whole Jurgen Klopp thing? And people saying Liverpool should sack Klopp, look what Chelsea's doing, look what Leicester's doing, and all these blah blah blah. Like it's nonsense for me. Like, it's unbelievably silly. Because first of all, who do you get in? And who says that manager is gonna succeed? So then that manager fails. So then you get another manager in, and then that one fails. So then we're just gonna turn into this Watford of the Premier League again, where a manager doesn't work out, and then in 5 months' time there's a new manager. Like, for me, it doesn't make sense to say, oh, let's get rid of Klopp because he has let the squad age. He has allowed for like all these things to happen, like squad aging, not changing tactics, which I don't think is even true, because he was clearly going for a new formation. Then all our attackers got injured, and what was he supposed to do? Just play the same formation with playing players out of position all the time? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. So he has come out and he said that he didn't see this massive decline happening. His loyalty to certain players as well, which I think he's realized now, and he has come out and said that he's kind of disappointed in certain players and their attitudes, and how they conduct themselves like on the pitch. And I could see that on Saturday against City, because it's been a while since I've seen Klopp that animated on the touchline. So, like, let him fix his mistake. Let the summer come. Let him fix it. Let him get all the players he wants in. Let him do the rebuild. And then we can see, like, okay, if he's not then doing the job, if he's still losing games, if it's still not happening for Liverpool, then be like, okay, maybe we actually need to question the ability of Klopp to take us forward. We don't want to become another Watford. We don't want to become another Chelsea, where managers just come and go. It's just hire and fire. We don't want to become another Spurs. Even United. Look at, each of those clubs that I mentioned, they've gone through managers like season in, season out, and it hasn't worked for them. So I think people need to rethink what they're saying and take into consideration that we still have a rebuild to happen. We can still allow Klopp to oversee that rebuild and then assess it from there. So yeah, that's just my take on it. And I think people can let me know in the comments and all of that, like if they think otherwise and why they think like Klopp should go. So yeah, that's just my take on it. And just like that, we have come to the end of another episode of The Couch Talk. Please like, subscribe, and turn on your post notifications if you have come this far in the episode. But for now, I'll see you on the flip side.